Great defeaters, old and new, welcome back to a rather undisputed episode, defeated channel with your host, BaseDaKID, Tony, the Pugilist boy. We are the children of the game. Tony, what's good, man?
Hey, how you doing, brother? I'm really good. I mean, despite my rubbish football team, I'm going to hold my hands up and say I'm an Arsenal fan, and
We're not going to talk about football, don't we?
I have to take that humble pie. But, boxing-wise, once again, my brother, we are back again after another fantastic weekend of action. We have seen the ascension to the undisputed champion of his division by the Iron Man. And I'm very happy for him. I did predict the other way. I figured Castano was going to be the man. So I'm going to eat the humble pie. I'm going to take the crow for that loss. And you was correct.
Of course I was. All right, look,
but don't forget, my brother, we have a 1-1 this weekend because I also predicted Denzel Bentley.
That's fair. That's fair. But one of them was a bit more emphatic than the other. So
absolutely, brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But don't worry, we'll get to that. But let's say hello to the great defeaters, old and new, so we can get into it because we got a lot to chat about.
Absolutely. So welcome, guys. MC Tasty and Chips, Tasty in the Hood. Welcome. Mulla, Osborne, Mr. A, Jam Down 187. Boy.
Nice.
Breakdown is subject to a hostile takeover. Why? My man jumped in early on the get-go. Uncle Jonah, Johnny Gaffer, Thomas Doon. Guys, welcome to this breakdown of the weekend's action. Look forward to your views on what we have just seen. So without further delay, let's get in amongst it, my brother.
What we got first?
So we're starting it off with the card for the undisputed world champion, world super welterweight unification between Brian Castano and Jamel Charlo. So this was a very, very good battle. And I have a little bit of action from the cheap seats, as they say.
What we got?
He's on Bambi legs for the rest of the show. The referee let that go on, only temporarily, for Jamel to come and finish the show.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think, now me, I'm from the old school, innit? I don't care about the whole Bambi legs. It's like, if he has to stay down, he has to stay down. That's my personal opinion. I'm from the 80s and 90s school of thought. But in your opinion, should the ref have stopped that from that first knockdown, or should he have allowed it to continue?
He should have stopped it from the first, because what he does when I look at it is he lets the man stand up and looks at him wobbling like he's discombobulated. He's unable to focus on his target, and as a result, if you're not able to listen to my instruction and follow, take 2 steps forward, what day is it? Your fight's over, sir.
I dig it. I mean, yeah, I don't feel like he needed to give him a second chance, but I can obviously understand he's a champion. You want to make sure that give the champion all the possible opportunities to, to get back into a fight or to lose their belt convincingly and whatnot. So, yeah, fair enough. I'll take that. With regards to this fight, though, like same as I said sort of last week, yeah, it was always going to be about who could make the most adjustments in the fight, and ultimately it came down to it was a classic style trade-off. So it was boxer puncher versus pressure fighter. And we always know that stylistic advantage of the boxer puncher over the pressure fighter is that a pressure fighter will always come forward, he'll throw, he'll give the guy who's boxing the opportunity to, you know, figure out what he's about to do. But the boxer puncher normally always has the power to trouble this guy who comes forward, normally unresponsible defensively. And that's usually kind of how it happens. Now, in this fight, what Charlo did different to the first fight was, number one, he was a lot busier. So he didn't allow Castano to be able to come in and swarm. Castano was clearly aware that the power was there from the first fight. The first fight, he probably didn't have much regard for it because, he felt it, but it was towards the end of the fight. In the beginning, he was a bit more, I won't say reckless, but a bit more determined to go through it. This time around, he was a bit more weary. So he was coming in behind the high guard, not even sort of like trying to jab his way in. He was literally trying to just find ways to get a safe entry into, you know, his sweet spot. But Charlo stayed pretty much in the center of the ring as much as he could. He kept it active. He kept that jab popping. You know, it was always a stiff jab, ramrod. It was never just a probing thing. The backhand was always thrown with intensity as well. And he was there. He was always looking for that counter left hook all night, because he remembered that was the shot that pretty much dominated the the first fight when he got himself in trouble, when he hit that counter left. That was the thing that got him back into it. So yeah, I feel like he was just setting it up. He was making Castano sort of timid to come in and commit, because he knew that there was a lot coming behind it. And even Castano's gas tank didn't seem as plentiful as it did in the first one. So as I was saying the other day, like the fact that he's the one that called for the fight to be postponed on two separate occasions, one was the injury, and then another thing, I think, between the two's negotiations, it just kind of seemed like he was less willing for the fight than Charlo was. And I just felt he would make the adjustments, and ultimately he did prove me right, because I did say it was going to be by a knockout. And I think I said the 10th, but I'll skip that part just in case.
Yeah.
What about you?
So
what
the guys in the chat are saying the difference was the lateral movement and the feet from J. Obbs. Back touch the ropes, fire off, and then move out. You know, what you mentioned about the changing of the style in order to make a difference this time round was definitely what was needed. I didn't feel Charlo had it in him to make some of the necessary changes, because I felt that Castano seemed to have the timing right in the last fight. And when a guy gets your timing, it's very difficult to come back from that, because you're trying to do something where you're going to upset the guy countering whatever you do, whether it be catching the jab and countering or slipping and countering. And in this situation, Jermell Charlo came up with the perfect plan, because yes, Castano came again looking to time him, but every time he did his work to counter, Jermell also countered. So there was a counter. And that was, to me, very strategic and very effective, because I don't think Castano was ready for that counter, because it was like, take that, or I'm going to show you something. Then you come in thinking I was about to do something. You show me your counter, but now I'm going to counter you. So it was a great strategy from Jermell, well executed. The inside fighting was at a different pace from the first fight, because whereas Castano, to me, won a lot of that inside battle in the first fight, Charlo definitely made Castano know, no, this is not happening this time. Anytime you come into this kill zone, I'm going to break you up. And he hit him with some vengeance that he was like, rah. Castano looked physically more ill at ease than he did at any point during that entire first fight. And I'm talking even the late rounds when Charlo started to settle down on the shots. So yeah, great performance. Let's listen to see some what the guys are saying.
Difference was the incorporation of the jab from Charlo. In the first fight, he allowed Castano to enter in close range in hopes to catch him on the counter, but was roughed in the process. Yeah, interesting take. I mean, I definitely see the validity in that. Charlo collected the data from the first fight. He does very well with rematches. I mean, so far we have to say yes to that. That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, welcome, by the way, off the canvas. Welcome, White Tony. Welcome,
Tony.
Patent. Welcome, Phil Larkin. So yeah, that was a great fight. I really enjoyed that. I'm pleased for Jermell Charlo. To me, he's the better of the two Charlo brothers. And look, the fact that we have another undisputed 4-belt world champion in our midst, it says so much about our sport right now. In that, when people deride our sport and say, "Oh, boxing's dead," well, I'm sorry, but the cream rises to the top. This was a great fight. This is a great champion for me. I was on with Maestro last night, and we were chopping it up about where Jermell Charlo sits in the pound for pound ranking. His name definitely is up there.
Where did he put him?
They was talking about top 3. I was saying top.
I've got him 7th.
Barely about. I was talking about knocking on the door of top 5. So I'm saying 6 or 7.
Okay, well, I've got him 7th. So that's yeah. Anyway, he hasn't done enough for top 3 because it's only one weight class, and it's not like he's like cleaned out every single person. But he's done well. Like he's another weight class, he can move up again.
Yeah, for sure. And that was part of our discussion when we extended the conversation about what makes you pound for pound. I said, in my estimation, you have to look at guys who are willing to go and sacrifice themselves and say, I'm willing to move up in weights. So hence why guys like Terence Bud, Canelo, Inoue are, to me, the top of the tree, because they've not only done it at one weight, they've gone up weights. Usyk, they've all gone from one weight, gone up, won multiple titles, as well as making themselves undisputed at some point. Obviously, Inoue hasn't done that as yet.
And also let's just give a quick shout out to Castano's chin, because he took some mad shots before the 10th. Like he's definitely got a chin. At one point, I didn't think people thought it was gonna end in a knockout. So
Obbs has said he's got Charlo at his number 4.
Okay. But I'll tell you what, everyone who's got a pound for pound list, put it in the chat and we'll bring it up as and when we go along, and we can kind of have that debate maybe next week or something. All right, so let's see. Yeah. Got Canelo, Usyk, Bud, Inoue, Taylor, Charlo. I don't think Taylor goes above Charlo, but yeah, okay, it's a decent list.
Yeah.
All right.
Where's Spence in that?
I don't have Spence in my top 10.
You don't have him in your top 10?
No.
Wow.
He just about makes my top 15, if I'm being honest.
What?
Yeah. We can talk about that another time, but I'll tell you why off camera, and then we can talk about it next week if you want.
Yeah, for sure. So guys, we're gonna move on because we've got a hell of a lot to cover. But keep putting in your pound for pounds. We'll be interested to read some of that. So the next fight that piqued our interest was
the man like Boots.
Man like Boots Ennis. And once again, man turned up against what looked like a very difficult opposition in Cassio Clayton. And once again, I brought you a little bit of the So the overhand chopping right, which saw to Cassio Clayton, was very reminiscent of the Thomas Delorme overhand right?
Did anything play? I didn't see anything play on my side.
Okay, I'll show it again just in case there was some. Okay. Did
Okay.
you see it?
Yeah, it came through that time.
Okay, excellent. So Boots is again had a very good conversation about Boots's position in the ratings at welterweight following this performance, because clearly he's now established himself, in a way that we looked at Conor Benn following the win over Chris Van Heerden, to say that was the fight where you go, all right, no more Mr. Nice Guy. We got to go to the next level. And this was his, I'm coming up to your guys' elite level now. Because after the fight, he did call out young Errol Spence, who was ringside at the time.
Yep.
And you know what? Fair play to the guy. Looking at his record, 130 fights and 2 losses as an amateur,
No,
undefeated as
no,
a
that's David Morrell. His is 58-3.
58-3. Oh, my error. I do apologize. So yeah, look, great amateur career. Still, 58-3 is still a good record. Established now welterweight, taking on some good fighters, and yes, he's got to be, I would say, next in line. Obviously, the welterweights is all about Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence right now. That's the fight that needs to be made. And obviously, talks are in discussion at the moment. But for me, he's next in line. What's your say?
Well, do you know what? It's funny because I actually saw a tweet from Virgil Ortiz earlier on today saying that he's actually, whatever the issue that happened with him, everyone said it's supposed to be doing with a bad weight cut, but apparently he's saying no, it was to do with a certain way he was training. So he's saying he's going to stick around at 147. So if that's the case and he does, while we've got Boots definitely in contention as one of the next up, now Virgil's put his name back in the hat. He didn't have his last fight against McKinson, who would have been a much more awkward and difficult style to see how do you handle that one. But he's obviously, that's still like a 1A and 1B scenario. So that in itself has to be cleaned up in terms of who is the guy. But
yeah,
with regards to this, I mean, I've spoken highly of Castillo Clayton for several years now. Like anyone who's heard me talk about, War Machine. But I guess that's why War Machine isn't Iron Man, because when it comes down to it, you're second best. And that, I'm not even having that as a dig on him, because I literally, I still think he's credible, and I still think he'll beat a lot of other like credible guys in and around the division. But yeah, he just came up against a real one on Saturday, and maybe he didn't let himself get going properly. Maybe he respected the power a bit too much, but ultimately, like, he didn't take his opportunity. And yeah, he's got to build himself back up. But Ennis is right where he needs to be. Boots is now looking to curb stomp a couple people. I heard he said he wants Errol, but I heard he's been talking about Furman as well. Garcia, he's like, well, look, if I can't get him next, then give me one of those guys, and I'm all for it. Quite frankly, there's not a lot to talk about in terms of a breakdown. So yeah, it's just congrats.
Congrats, yeah. I mean, the thing is, with the welterweight division, you got 2 real waste man, in my opinion, in Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman. I mean, them men are just wasting their careers right now. They're solid guys, boxing wise, but they're wasting their careers. I mean, what the hell is PBC doing with them 2 guys? It's a joke. It's beyond the joke. We got guys coming out and fighting all sorts. Conor Benn is doing, what he needs to do, and you got them, man. It's a joke. It's horrible, really.
Well, they're waiting for
everybody in the
opportunities.
weight division, and you got lots of good guys in that weight division. Obviously, Cody Crowley, Stanionis, Ben,
Utayev still credible.
There's a lot of good guys in that division. I just think everyone needs to let's just go like, listen, you man are being idiots. So I just wipe them out of the sport. To me, they've wasted their careers by being inactive and not taking part in in what they need to do.
Yeah, but the only way to wipe them out of the sport is to get them cooked by somebody, because they'll always linger around and act like there's
Yeah,
something until someone beats them. So they have to
yeah.
get the fights.
I
Essentially,
mean, the unfortunate thing is their inactivity does not hinder their position in the rankings. Whereas to me, when you don't do anything, you shouldn't just be sat in top 5, top 3 rankings as they are. Whereas other guys are fighting on a regular and they ain't getting propped above those guys. So, it's unfortunate. It is what it is. But yeah.
true.
Obviously saying that Castio is just a gym man.
Now I disagree with that, Obs, but fair enough.
Yeah. So guys, that was our take on Boots. A massively impressive display, just like Conor Ben had against Van Heerden. The next step for him, as I said, he's next in line for that world title crack, whichever version it is. If it's all 4 belts, great. Whether he has a fight in between, which obviously he needs to keep active. Who that will be, I don't know. Whether he has to say, look, do I keep active with a hot one, or do I stick with a tick over job?
You know who I think he should fight next? Because he's not getting a title shot next. You know who I think? Butaev.
Good.
Fight Radzav Butaev as your next fight.
Yeah, it's a good fight. Would Butaev want to go in with that following the defeat to Stanionis?
Yeah, he'd have. I'll tell you, no, he would. Should I tell you why? Because that's his route back to a title shot. Because right now he's got no chance for a title shot. This guy's #1 in the IBF. If I beat you, I take your spot. So it makes sense for him to do it.
Yeah, and of course the Virgil Ortiz scenario makes very interesting situation in that weight division. But we'll see how it goes. Just quickly, guys, we'll just jump onto some of these rankings. Born a Blue TV, welcome, guy. Usyk, Bud, and then Canelo.
That's my 3.
With Bud, Usyk, Canelo. Charlo at 4. Inoue, Taylor, Estrada, Spence, Chocolatito, and Beterbiev. Uncle Jonah goes with Usyk, Bud, Canelo, Taylor, Charlo. Have we got any more? Yeah, that'll do for now. Any last word on that fight then?
No, not on the fight. There's not really much to talk about. It was what it was.
Yeah, so a couple of other guys are saying that would also be a very good fight for Boots to fight Butaev.
Thank you, guys.
So we move on to the next fight for the night, which is
your win, finally.
Okay, so I've got a little action from that. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's a very good round.
Yeah.
Now I don't really know how the ref didn't spot the knee, but it was it was. I actually put it in my because remember I didn't put it in the weekend video, so I put it in the one from this morning, and I was talking about it. So how I had it scored, I had the first 2 rounds to Udofia, had the 3rd round to Bentley, had the 4th round to Udofia, had the 5th round to Bentley, had the 6th round to Udofia, then the 7th and 8th both to Bentley, 9th to Bentley as well, 10th to Udofia. I couldn't really split the 11th. So I gave it a 10-10, but if I had to give it to someone, I would have just shaded it to Bentley, and then ultimately I gave the 12th to Bentley as well. So I did score it 115, 114 to 10 to Bentley, same as one of the judges did.
So guys, what did you guys think of that fight? I also had Bentley the winner. Again, much like yourself, I had it a point or 2 at max by the end of the fight. I thought it was an absolutely enthralling contest. I thought, once again, Udofia showed, look, they could run that fight back again because that was that close. And it was a great fight. And, look, well done, Channel 5. They put on a good card, and that was free to the people then. So long may that carry on. You know, I'm happy to see Friday Night Boxing on Channel 5.
Personally, I
Especially
want
if it's
more
going to be
fights
at
in the
that level.
Indigo too as well. I
Yeah,
like that little setup.
it was nice. It was certainly very nice. Obs has said he thought Denzel edged it.
Yeah,
He thinks Denzel stops him in a rematch. That's interesting.
I don't. I think Udofia is way too defensively responsible. He like is and he seems to have that chin as well.
Yeah.
But the one thing, because the thing is that fight was definitely Udofia's to lose because the way he started that fight, he had. I remember I was telling you last week about that natural rhythm that he's got, and the way that he fights in a certain rhythm, whereas Bentley sort of is more kind of off the rhythm and offshoot, and he's even though it's harder to time, it's harder for him obviously to be able to counter you off of that rhythm as well.
Yeah.
There was a couple rounds in there where Udofia was almost like he started coasting and then got clipped with something and then had to play catch up within the rounds, which was giving Bentley the front foot momentum. And that was to me the problem that he had, which is why he wasn't which is why he wasn't able to sort of get it back after that sixth round. And obviously not trying to do the whole circle the ring and box from the outside in the 12th was not the right move. Like if he had stepped on the pace in that one, it would have ended up being a draw, and then they would have had to run the rematch back anyway. So
Yeah.
it was his own fault why he didn't win it, but he was definitely to me the like he controlled the fight better. He let
Yeah.
it slip from
I
it
mean,
through his fingers.
I think you alluded to it last week in that, you know, the way he fights is rhythmic. You know, he fights a certain way. You know, certain things just come out the way they always come out.
Yeah.
And he doesn't tend to deviate from the way he throws his combinations. So once Bentley realized and the corner got in his ass, they told him, like, you know what, you got to upset the rhythm. And he did. He started throwing from different angles. He started, you know, jumping in with the hook, doing things that were unnatural for Udofia to cope with and making it uncomfortable for him. And that's when he started getting success. So, you know, well done to Denzel Bentley. As I said, you know, we'd love to see that one come back again. We've got another pound for pound in here from Alcuya. He's going with Bud, Charlo at number 2. Interesting. Canelo, Spence, and Shakur Stevenson. First sighting of Shakur Stevenson.
Okay.
This is an interesting conversation for us to have another time. We need to respect the British title. We need more of these. You're right there, Obs. I do agree with you. You know, there's a lot of good domestic fights out there. You know, don't forget we got Dan Aziz at light heavyweight as a British champion. You know, calling out all and sundry. And there's a lot of good men out there. You know, what wouldn't we give to see Dan in with Lyndon Arthur? You know, there's some good fights at British title level. So we'll get into that another time. But yeah,
Most
thanks for
definitely.
that. So, any more on that, my friend?
No, I mean ultimately we like you said, you got your victory back. Slight margins. It was definitely one of those fights where anything could have happened, and even though I scored it to Bentley, it's like if Udofia had won that fight or he had got given the decision, there's no one that would have really been like, oh, I can't believe it. It was one of those fights. There was a couple rounds. It was just what you liked in that round. So it was a great fight. And I want it to get run back, but I don't want an immediate rematch. I want, couple fights down the line. You know, maybe if there's like a European title on the line or something, let the levels go up just a little bit. But congrats to Bentley, too sharp, aka 2-time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, my friend.
And obviously he's from
On the
South,
rest of
just
that
like us,
card,
so we've got to give him
I
that little
don't know
piece
if
of
you
respect also.
obviously the Josh Kelly fight was hilariously called off. I mean, we won't go into that, but the Harlem Eubank Dodd fight, I know we saw it last night on Monday Night Smoke, but got to give that boy his credit. This was a nice shot.
You see this, what we're watching here? That's literally all I've seen of the entire fight. I haven't watched any of it. So he did what he needed to do. Congrats to Harlem. He looks like he's improving, but I need to
Indeed.
see something else against maybe a slightly more younger, fresher opponent,
Yeah,
just to understand exactly where the level is. But yeah, bowing to your opponent, it's
yeah.
disrespectful and respectful at the same time. It's disrespectfully respectful. It's brilliant. I love it.
Oh man, disrespectfully respectful. I love that. I love that. So I'm taking it you didn't see Thunders.
No, I was watching the show, but because remember on the actual broadcast, like they showed the main event and then showed highlights of the rest of the fights. They didn't
That's
actually
right.
show
That's
them.
right.
So
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to see it.
no
I'm
problem.
hoping maybe it might be on the YouTube channel or something. I might watch it later, but it wasn't. It's no real big issue because whoever won or lost. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get to this one now.
Let's get to this bad boy. So this was a fight that you called Tony Yoka, and I believe I told you don't write off Martin Bacoli. I didn't go so far as to pick him to win, but I did say don't write off Martin Bacoli.
And I didn't write him off. I said that I think he's going to be in a fat camp for this one because he was way too heavy in his last fight. And if that's the case, he's going to get beat. He's going to get beaten because Joker's just a naturally better guy, which he is. But we clearly see that maybe that fat camp wasn't needed as much. And he's probably doing the Tyson Fury thing now, right? Okay, I don't need to drop down the weight. Let me just stay at this weight
He
and
needs to
and
drop
do what
down
I
the
do
weight,
early and
brother.
then coast the rest of
He
the fight.
needs to drop down the weight big time because I'm telling you now, that guy's footwork is atrocious. I mean, I was looking at him after round 5 and just thinking to myself, this is worse than George Foreman in his like worst situations. Because you know, like Ali used to say, George Foreman, the mummy, boom, 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 and I'm like, Bacoli is worse. Bacoli, his footwork is atrocious.
Yeah.
And some of the shots he's throwing, I mean, I'm like, how is an agile, young, fit Tony Yoka getting hit with this guy's shots? I mean, Virgil Hunter has to take blame for some of this because I was watching this fight. I'm not joking you. I honestly thought I could go in with Bacoli and dance rings around him.
Probably.
Even at my age.
I mean, look, put it this way.
Disgraceful.
No, put it this way, right? I said it. I didn't even get a chance to say it yesterday. Big up, Brendan. In his last 2 or 3 fights, I believe, during lockdown, Virgil Hunter wasn't in Yoka's corner. They're saying it's his first clean fight. He got VADA tested. I mean, look, speculation aside, I'm gonna go with a fact, right? So a fact is, in his last couple fights, Virgil Hunter wasn't in his corner, and he performed a lot differently than he did this time. Now, was it a case that he just had this 277-pound man in front of him throwing heavy shots that he wasn't expecting? Was he a bit more fragile than we thought? I'd actually have to say no, because realistically, getting hit with all of those shots, if you was that fragile, you would have gone down and stayed down at some point. He took some clean shots to the jaw, didn't really wobble as such. He took some equilibrium shots and he stayed on his feet. Apart now, a lot of people say they struggle to give him 1 round or if that at all. Now, I gave him 3, right? I had it 97-91 and obviously the second knockdown was it was a little in bad faith because it wasn't really a knockdown as such. But yeah, Bacoli was just like, he did well. Like his combination punching on the inside or while in range at mid range was perfect. But the fact that again, like Yoka just wasn't using his natural gifts. He's naturally taller. He's got the longer range. He's got the better footwork. He's more athletic. So you should be sticking and moving. Whereas he was trying to trade up in the pocket and go head to head and trying to push man off. So at that point, you're saying to yourself, well, who told you that that's the game plan to be using against him? It makes absolutely no sense. Then you got you got Virgil Hunter in the corner giving inspirational, life-changing, altering sermons, and letting the second be the guy that's actually giving the instructions or trying to give some of the instructions about what you should be doing in the fight. And I agree with Aops. He probably was overlooking him because he wasn't thinking about him initially. He was thinking about Hergovich, and by the
Listen,
time he had to get back into that mode, it was too late.
I'm sorry, I can't go with that excuse. Overlooking or not, that guy was not in any physical state to be a guy of that level. You've got to weigh up. There are levels to this game, yeah. But Coley's level should not have given Yoka any trouble. Shouldn't, yeah. And the fact that he's got exposed so badly tells me that people are overrated Tony Yoka.
Or the power was more than he was expecting. If you don't expect the power that he came out with, that's clearly going to disrupt your game.
There are rounds where he's getting outboxed. You're like literally going, hang on a second. You're getting outboxed by a big guy whose footwork is atrocious.
Yeah, but he was hurt from the first round.
He can't throw long shots. He's got little hands. He can't throw long shots. He's not like hitting you with an 87-inch reach. My guy's arms are not long. So
I agree.
I'm looking at this stylistically and saying, but Coley should have been meat and drink for a guy like Tony Yoka. Meat and drink.
Okay.
And the fact that he couldn't overcome him stylistically tells me.
But Tony, what you're forgetting in that instance is the fact that, as I just said, he got hurt in round 1. His legs didn't even come back till like the end of round 4. So at that point, it's like whether you're stylistically better than him or not, you're at a disadvantage because you can't do what you need to be doing at this point. That's just what happened. So obviously, they remember towards the end or in the sort of the later rounds, he was actually boxing a lot better and he was doing a lot better. And Bacoli, at that point, he'd gassed out. He was just looking for single shots here and there.
Yeah.
He was picking him off a bit more. He wasn't winning all of those rounds conclusively, but he was doing better. But getting hurt in the first round the way he did just changed everything. So that's sometimes it can happen.
Yeah. If you say what sometimes it can happen, but you know what? When it happens, it tells me a lot about a fighter. It tells me your days are numbered generally, because I don't see a guy like that coming back from a defeat like that and becoming the next best thing. Sorry.
Maybe.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just, he's going to come back, he's going to beat some good guys, but he ain't never going to be elite, because everyone will look at that fight and go, well, hang on a second. If Martin Bacoli can brush you all over the ring like a doll, then what are you going to do when you come up against a real hitter who actually can move his feet?
I mean, that's fair, but we can't act like if Martin Bacoli some any journeyman. Like he's not that bad. Like he's a good fighter. That's why I
called it the way I did, because I said Bacoli ain't no, he ain't no scrub. Yeah, but I looked at the Bacoli that turned up that fight and went, hang on a second, he ain't a scrub, but he ain't looking that great. He had been to the sweetie jar too many times. And as I said, by round 5, he's pretty much spent. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if Yoka's got anything about him, he boxed this guy's ears off for the rest of the fight and win this 7-5.
Well, no, it was a 10-rounder.
I know you got to overcome the knockdown rounds, but
no, it was a 10-rounder, so he could have never won it 7-5. It was a 10-rounder. It was a 10-rounder. He could have never won it 7-5. But the 2 knockdowns effectively meant he was never going to win it unless he knocked him out.
Yeah. So there we go. Any last words on that one?
No, let's see what the rest of the defeaters is saying. I mean,
that's it. I've pretty much pushed up all the things that they've said.
Well, all right, because obviously North Bank wants us to talk about the the draw scorecard. I mean, I don't know where you find 6 rounds to give Yoka in the fight. Like I said, at best, I was able to give him 3, but even the 3 was generous. So That
I mean,
he was in France. He was supposed to lose. They did whatever they could to try and make sure he didn't. But in the end, they was
yeah,
like, "No, this is long. We can't. There's no way else we can fudge this. So
yeah, for sure.
let's just call it a day." And I heard it. The
Indeed.
thing is, I don't speak French, but I took French in school. And I heard the draw card. I'm like, and then I heard majority decision. I'm like, wait a minute, did I just hear that correctly? Like,
Yeah,
who actually didn't give him all of the rounds? But yeah,
it is what it is. Okay, let's move on swiftly. Zerdo Ramirez versus Dominic Bozell. We got some action for you.
again, there's not a huge amount to say in this fight either. Like, there's Bozell was very crude. All he did was tuck up, didn't move necessarily, got ripped to the body as you see there.
Yeah.
Letting Zerdo just walk him down, stalk him. Occasionally would fight his way out of the corner, but it was desperate and got him countered even more. So it was just a 4 rounds of beating he didn't really need to take, to be fair.
So you know what the most interesting thing about this fight was?
What?
The weight. The fact that Zerdo comes in at 204 pounds at the on the day of the fight. You're like, what the? My man came in at fully fledged heavyweight, my brother. You're like, what the? And you, I mean, I looked at the fight from the beginning. You're like, rah, Bozell is just a punch bag for him. And again, you know, me and Maestro had it out yesterday. Where do you have Zerdo ranked in your light heavyweight rankings right now? His record is very impressive. He's got some good names.
Is it?
That's what I said. Is it?
I mean, look, I'm 44-0, 30 KOs, yes, but like, how many credible names are on there? There's some decent wins, but there's no, oh yeah, like this was the guy in your division and you took him out. Like Jesse Hart's probably like his best victory. The two Jesse Hart victories. Like that's no great shakes.
Yeah. So yeah, but I had the same feeling that quite simply, Zerdo is impressive. He has got some credible names on his record, but let's be honest, at the top end of that division, there are killers. And I don't believe he's anywhere near coming in and facing those killers. But what I do have to say is, if he's going to be coming in at 204 pounds every time, he's going to cause a bit of problems because that's a fully fledged heavyweight at the end of the day.
Well, it depends. Yes, he would be causing people problems for a few rounds. Can he sustain that weight and be effective? Because if he can't move, or if he's fighting movers, then he's not going to be able to get that same amount of work off, like, you know, against credible opponents. Yeah. I mean, I don't have any fear in if Bivol was to fight him now. I've got no fear of Bivol getting, you know, trapped in a corner and teed off on or anything like that. He'll box a move. He'll move quicker than him. He'll, you know, get the work off quicker and spin out quicker. I don't think he would be able to take, you know, or to take the power of Beterbiev. And Joe Smith Jr., as much as we don't necessarily, he might be the weakest champion, like he's also the upset king. He always seems to win when he's the underdog. So, you know, so at the end of the day, it's like, look, he might be in the top 5 just because he has to be, but maybe not. I think Callum Smith will beat him. I even think Anthony Yard will beat him, to be honest. Like, I'm not even Anthony Yard. I like Yard, but I'm not his biggest supporter. But I think he'd beat him. Like, Zerdo's nothing special. He's just a big guy who matches himself very well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also would say I would give Anthony Yard the heads over Zerdo. Be interested if Maestro's still there because he's so high on him. He thinks he's a number 3 ranked guy in the division on his thing. And I had it out with him last night. I mean, Ken wasn't able to carry on, so it ended up being a show with me and Maestro. And I absolutely slaughtered Zerdo. I'm like, this guy's not ready.
Yeah, but Maestro just likes to be controversial. We know that about Maestro.
Oh dear. Yeah, let's go to that super chat. Actually, before you go there, I'm just gonna go finish off on some of these.
Okay.
Pretty much everyone is saying the same as what we're saying about Zerdo being overrated, and basically, you know, him not standing a chance against either Bivol or Peterviev.
Yeah, disgrace.
Is it a disgrace or is it a strategy? Because
Well,
if
how
you
do
think
you?
about it, if you can carry 205 comfortably, it's in your interest to come in at 205
But
because
we
you're
don't know
gonna
if he
eat.
can
Well, he did it
for 4 rounds.
This is the. This is it. What happens when he gets to 6, 7, 8, 9?
I mean, it's mad putting on 30 pounds in one day, but yeah, it's mad. I don't know how that's. I didn't. I've lost 10 pounds in a day before, so maybe you can.
So let's address this super chat from Ash. Big up, gents. He says Jaime Munguia versus Jimmy Kelly next. That's not a made fight, though, is it?
I don't know. Maybe he's just
I'm looking at that. I'm thinking I didn't
speculating.
know about this. Maybe he is. Maybe it's something he got some intel on in terms of a fight that's being made currently. So I don't know much about that. So we'll comment on that another time because we have that's most of the action from the weekend covered. The only thing we didn't cover was the cruiserweight contest, for which Ennis Zorro won. He was easily heads and shoulders above the rest of the competition in that tournament. He beat a very worthy finalist in Ricky Reeves, the school teacher from the Midlands, who I was backing because he's a teacher like myself. But in the end, the experience of Zorro Ellis was, or Ellis Zorro was too much, and he was the deserved winner. So
Another
we
Blue
move
Borough
on.
legend.
Yeah. So we move on because we gotta chop it up. We have a weekend of some absolutely amazing action coming up. What are you looking forward to, my brother? As if I really need to know.
Well, there's 3 fights this weekend that I'm interested in personally. So clearly we've got Joshua Buatsi and Craig Richards. That's head and shoulders above everything else. But
Yeah.
Laharaja Metcalf, I'm expecting that to be a fun scrap.
Okay.
And my actual third fight, I'm looking forward to Cameron versus Bustos. I mean, obviously Scotney and Roman, I think will also be a good one. But Cameron versus Bustos, I'm expecting that to be a very interesting scrap. And obviously, you know, a man like Alan Babbage, he's always good for entertainment.
Yeah.
So, oh, actually, let me ask you something because
yeah,
I was on G-Man's channel earlier on today, and basically he said that like the undercard's terrible, like it's trash. I was like, no, like I think it's a pretty good undercard. Like those women's fights are good, but all the comments under my comment is all like, no, it's terrible. Oh, what two women fighters? I'm like, okay, so are they basically not liking it because there's 2 high-profile women's fights on the under? What's your opinion of the undercard? And the chat, what's your opinion of the undercard as well?
So you know what I did the last time that this happened when we had records against records, and I did this again, and I wrote it down somewhere, but I can't remember where I wrote it. But once again, we've got 2 very impressive 2 sides of the coin, because I like to, you know, you could look at cards and go, oh, one side of the card has got a 57-0, the other side of the card has got 26 and 137. And then you're going like, nah, that's just mismatches all the way down. But actually, when you look at the records, you look at this fight card, and there's one side of the card which are all unbeaten. And then the other side of the card has a few unbeaten and a few with 1s and 2s, where you go, actually, that's interesting. This card is good for me. I'm very happy with this card. I'm looking
Likewise.
forward to being there on Saturday with yourself and seeing the action from the get-go. And you know, that's what boxing is about. I don't like to turn up for the last fight because I know there's that side that kind of casual where they go, you know what, my guy's fighting last, I'll turn up at the end.
Mm.
I'm invested in this card. I want to see Ellie Scottney. I want to see Babbage. I want to see you know, all the names that are on this card. This is a very good card.
I agree. I mean, I like it.
Nobody's got an easy ride on this card.
Apart from maybe Chev Clark, but to be honest, he'll just make it look easy.
Mm.
Even Robert Davis Jr. against Javier Molina, that's going to be a very exciting fight as well.
Yeah.
May not be a high level one, but it'll be very exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Who am I looking forward to? De Freitas. He looks a good fighter.
Yeah, he's a nice one still.
He's a nice technician, so I'm looking forward to seeing him box. So we gotta get to the main event. So guys, put your comments in the chat. Chev Clark is on again, yeah. That's another good one. The card is all right to me. Not great, not bad.
I agree.
Very good. Come on, it's okay. Undercard's decent. Would have liked Johnny Fisher on there as well. For obvious reasons, but solid card nonetheless. I'm actually glad that Johnny Fisher ain't on there because his crowd are so vociferous that they overtake any show that he's on. I mean, literally, you know, if you've ever been to a Johnny Fisher fight, it's like he fills the arena with his fans, and you know, I love the guy for that energy and for the ability to do that. But he kind of does ruin everybody else's thunder because he gets all the praise. Ash says, I like the undercard. Robbie Davis may lose and Babbage is fun. Good undercard, says Off the Canvas. Is that G-Man video out, says Johnny Gaffer.
Yeah, it's on his channel. It's his breakdown video of the event.
Okay. Fight fan Danny says that Leharaja will knock out Metcalf. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, he's got a good opportunity to do so. I think so.
Okay.
He does seem to do well on the Spanish cards, minus the fight just before his last one where he kind of got gifted a bit, but
cool. So let's get to the main event, shall we?
okay.
Unless there's any other bits around the side of it that you needed to mention.
No, we can, because we'll talk about all of them after the fact next week. Because I'll make sure that we talk about every fight on that card. I feel it deserves it. But main event, I mean, look, this is kind of, and this isn't even me talking about predictions because we already know kind of from yesterday what was said. I don't know if you've rewatched the show, but that's all in play. But this is where I see like both guys' keys to victory. Yeah. So with Joshua Buatsi, his aggressiveness he's got to be aggressive. He's got to cut. He's got to start early. He's got to start from with level changes as well. He's got to make sure he comes in underneath Craig's jab. Like he needs to be able to get in underneath it. He doesn't want to jab with him because even though you can jab with a jabber, I'd feel like that's just a wrong move. Craig's limbs are too long for him to be able to get past in that sense and be effective.
Can I stop you there?
Go ahead.
Why?
What? Why not jab with the jabber?
Yeah. Why do you think that Craig's limbs are going to be like a problem for him to overcome? Because they're both literally there's a 1 inch in difference in height.
Yeah, but there's about a 4-inch reach advantage, but there's a reach difference of about 4 inches of the span of both of them. So if you're
big? I don't think
it's about 4
big.
inches. It's about I mean you can check it.
Okay.
But right, so okay, here's why I feel it's a mistake. Yeah, yes, you can jab with him if you're able to, I guess, slip his jab or be able to get more power and extension into yours as opposed to his, right? But because Craig is
I need to stop you again here, my brother.
Okay.
Technique wise, because I need to break this down. Jabbing, the art of jabbing, it's not down to arm length. Because otherwise, a 6-foot guy like Tommy Hearns would jab off a guy like Sugar Ray Leonard all day, and the shorter guy wouldn't have a chance within the fight. And we both know Sugar Ray Leonard dealt with Hearns. Now, not to say he didn't get touch up with the jab, because that jab was like clockwork. And I rate Tommy Hearns' jab second only to Larry Holmes. Yeah? But the point is, length of arm has no say in capability when it comes to comparing two fighters. What you do with your jab and how you do it is more important. Timing is far more important. Carry on your speech.
Well, as I was saying just before you cut me, I said because he's got the natural reach, we already know he's got a great jab first of all. So for Watsy, for him to be able to, unless he's got the necessary power to be able to offset and get to his target before Craig can get to him, then the jabbing with him is not gonna be an effective game plan for him, which means he's gonna have to find a way to gain entry and past the jab before trying to go for a jab. So in this particular instance, he needs to be able to try and slip a jab to then come in with maybe a jab come hook, or or to come in with a power jab afterwards, or some kind of variation of that. Because ultimately, if he tries to jab with Craig, we know that Craig has a naturally better jab than him. And one thing we also know is whenever Buatsi throws a punch, his head stays on center line at all times. He doesn't move his head. So if he's going to try and jab with Craig, his head's going to get rocked back every time he tries to do it, because it's never going to move. Craig's not going to have any issues finding the target. So, like I said, so he needs to, if he comes in.
So let's I mean, we're doing a proper breakdown here, because this is very important to me.
Okay.
The jab. I mean, this to me dictates the whole fight. And I feel we have to really strip this down so that the audience recognize how important, when you're watching this fight, this particular punch to me is going to be the winner of this fight. We've got two guys, very tall, as I said, difference in height of an inch. As Danny has said, Craig's reach is much longer, and you've alluded to that. So I'm going to give you that. But as I say, just because a guy's reach is longer does not make him a more effective jabber. Don't forget, Mike Tyson had a very effective jab, and he was often outreached by 5 and 6 inches by his opponent. Yeah? Buatsi, as it says, has also got a lethal jab. So this becomes a case where I understand what you've just said, and it makes sense what you've just said. But I do wish to counter it and say, I believe Buatsi has enough skill with his jab to cause Craig a lot of problems. And I'm pretty certain, I'm kind of sitting on the fence that this is going to ebb and flow on the jab.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want you to take what you said and say, yeah, okay, I agree with what you're saying. Craig could potentially win this outright with a fantastic jab, which we know he has. Craig has a fantastic jab, but Buatsi also has a very good jab. And I see this as a stylistic battle of jabs. Now, these two guys have worked together in the gym. They sparred together several times. They know each other's game. This is going to be a very interesting battle of whose camp have strategized best to overcome things in the fight. Because I could see ebbs and flows. I could see someone coming out, dominating a couple of rounds, and then someone switching it up and forcing a change in the dynamic of the fight, and the other person having to re-switch it up and it going back and forth, back and forth. But the key to all of that, to me, is the jab. So I'm going to say, I understand what you said, but I believe Buatsi has a very solid jab that can cause a lot of problems for Craig. Guys, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you say that, but if we look at, for instance, all right, this was before Virgil Hunter, so we can't necessarily maybe make too much of a case. However, in the challenge fight, when they were jabbing with each other, for the majority of the time, Chalic was getting the better of the jab against Boazzi. Now, it's not to say that Boazzi didn't ultimately do what he needed to do, you know, and he adjusted certain things and he stopped going for the jab and he went to close the angle instead and come closer onto the mid-range to the inside, because he was having a bit better success there than he was at distance with the guy that was, you know, his jab wasn't landing as clean as Chalic's was. Now, obviously, if we look at Craig, like I said, his jab, to me, I think his jab's better than Chalic. I feel like it's stronger as well, and it's a lot more measured. He's been working on that jab for years. So I just feel in this instance, the jab is the better option for Craig. I don't think it's the better option for Boazzi. I think Boazzi's best option is to get inside that range and keep the fight close. Like he almost has to be like a pressure fighter with educated boxer puncher, you know, strategies. Which will, again, that becomes difficult if he doesn't move his head and create traps, because he's not known for creating traps. He's known for he will throw, and he will try and sort of throw in volume and make you think of this one, think of that one, and then maybe one gets through or a couple get through towards the end, and then because he's heavy-handed, like you're thinking about that power, and then the next one comes in, and then the next one, and then he comes out, and then he resets and he goes again. He's not. He also is going to have to not be afraid to trade, because what he does do, if you back him up or you push him onto the back foot or you throw at him, he stays in the high guard until you stop, and then he comes back at you. Him doing that with Craig, considering obviously Craig's a little bit taller, with the better reach, probably the slightly quicker footwork as well. From what I've seen, I'd have to say Craig is the quicker of the two in that sense. If you're waiting for him to finish his salvo before you tee off on him, then at that point Craig could be out of range, or he could be far enough away that whatever you're throwing doesn't get full impact. So don't jab with him, but you could definitely go to hook with him. You can definitely. It's dangerous, but you have to throw in between his salvo. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous, but it's the same as Craig. If whenever Boazzi's throwing, he needs to throw in between his shots. He can't wait for him to finish or just be trying to avoid everything and then come back after. He has to throw with him, because that's the best chance you're going to get to open him up. Especially Boazzi does keep his chin in the air quite a lot, so you can tag him that way. Ultimately, let's see. Boazzi has to beat Craig on volume and pounce. If Craig is rocked even slightly, Craig needs to point score and opt for winning rounds. And if a KO comes, then so be it. Otherwise, take it to points. And I agree with that, specifically for one point. You see where he said Boazzi has to pounce on him? Remember, just like yourself, Craig's got the dreads. Yeah, he's got the plats, he's got the dreads. Anytime he gets rocked by something, even if he moves quickly himself and skips it, that's going to look like he's been tipped, and that's all going to play in the judge's mind. So he has to remember that as well, and be very cognizant of whatever he has to keep distance as a very sound thing in his mind, because any movement that happens to him, like the hair exaggerates everything, and that's one of the things that I definitely feel that will play a disadvantage for him, because there could be rounds where you feel like he's won those rounds, but the judges have seen it different, because everything he's moved, like, you know, it's been dictated. It looks a lot more forceful, whatever Boazzi's doing in those rounds. So, also, as Jam Down alludes to, like Craig, I definitely feel has the better gas tank of the two. Boazzi starts fast, has to take a break, and then he sort of ends strong, a bit like Anthony Joshua. Whereas Craig normally starts slow and then warms his way into a fight. Again, for him to be successful, I feel that Craig has to start fast and then make Boazzi react, and then basically work off of his reaction for a few rounds, and then get himself into it when, you know, by that time Boazzi's maybe gassing a bit. But vice versa, Boazzi needs to just step on the gas from the start and punch in between, like I said, punch in between Craig's punches if he wants to have success in the, especially in sort of the early to middle stages when maybe his gas tank is starting to fade down a little bit.
Wow. I mean, this whole gas tank business, again, I've heard this several times. And again, I have got issue with people who say Josh Buatsi's engine ain't strong enough to last against a high-paced fighter like Craig Richards for 12 rounds. I think that's total tosh. I got to say it. I
Okay,
don't
why?
see where you get that from. I mean, yeah, man might have taken a couple of rounds here and there, but how many rounds has he lost in his entire career as a professional? Where you go, boy, man took off rounds and lost rounds and da-da-da-da, you know?
Well, he lost quite a few against Chalic. He lost quite a few against Ryan Ford. He lost several against Bolotniks due to Bolotnik's work rate in the middle rounds when he was tired. Hence why he got a point taken off for repeated low blows and a chance to recover his tank in the 8th round of their fight. So remember, before that, you'll say that he what's it called? You'll say that he had before that he was knocking people out in like 6 rounders or 6 to, so he wasn't, the gas tank wasn't as needed. But as he's starting to progress more, you're seeing a bit more of that come out. So at the end of the day, like, the gas tank is the truth. Like what it is, we've seen it visibly occur. We've never seen Craig like suffering and struggling with the gas tank. So that's one thing what we're saying is going to be a plus on Craig's side if he can exploit it, or if Buatsi punches himself out or has to take those rounds off.
I'm a address once again. Big up to the man like Ash with the second super chat of the evening. I know already what you're gonna say to this question when I put it on the screen.
How did Craig's jab work against Sugden and Buglioni? Well, Sugden, if you watch that entire fight, he pretty much controlled it. It was never a 4-4. That's the first thing. That's fact. Like, anytime you watch that is what it is. And with Buglioni, he wasn't particularly in great shape for that fight. So he was winning those early rounds. Was he or was he not? He won the early rounds, and then he wasn't in a fighting shape for sort of the rest of it. And Buglioni took it over with experience. At the time, Buglioni was the naturally bigger guy. Like, what do you?
He was.
It's not like that's a lie.
No, you're right. I kind of knew. I knew what you were gonna say. I knew it already.
I'll always address the question. It's a valid. He's right. It's a very valid question.
I'm agreeing with you to a degree.
No, I'm addressing it. I'm saying it's a very
question.
valid question that he's put up there.
Yeah. I feel like Buatsi does his best work from the outside at long range. There's going to be a lot of times where Craig makes Buatsi look silly. Oh. Buatsi punch with him might be a wrap for Craig.
Maybe, but that's his best chance. That's his best chance.
Craig leans back a lot and throws his hands out. Bivol kept landing that left hook on him. Buatsi can't afford to put a high guard considering Craig isn't too bad at left hook and pivot out with a double jab. That may be enough to win the round as a highlight reel.
Interesting.
What's this? Fact starts fast. Shot Buatsi and drown in mid-rounds.
Yep.
Okay. Hit the like, guys. Yes, thank you very much for that.
Please hit the like, people.
Buatsi mid-rounds is not the same fighter as at the start and end.
Which is what we said.
Yeah.
So.
Has Buatsi fought somebody with good footwork?
I mean, Chalic had decent footwork, gave him some issues, but obviously he did what he did. He grinded him. Yeah. He ground him down. So
I mean, let's be honest. This is without a shadow the hardest test Buatsi's had, and all the questions around him exist because of the lack of high-end competition. We can look at Craig's resume and we just see top level fighter, win. and good performances in those wins. Buatsi, we've seen him, step off the gas, but still win. He doesn't win by 1 round, 2 rounds. He wins convincingly.
Very true.
So this is, some of the intangibles that we have to consider. And I think it's quite clear that, guys have got varying degrees of acceptability in regards to certain aspects of their games, whether it be the jab, whether it be the gas tank, whether it be, just ring IQ and general ring generalship overall. Let's see what this one is. This is your boy Craig with a 168-pound fight on 5 days' notice versus Buglioni. We all know that one, Danny. And Sugden fight was never a draw. Hence, you saw Pitters box rings round Sugden. Then Craig out jabbed the 6'6" monster reach of Shakan Pitters. Yeah. I think you look at more than just the jab again in that Pitters fight, because the overhand right was clocking Pitters nicely as well. That fight was a great example of Craig's ability to time a fighter. Pitters was a very good competition for him, and he just basically outwitted him. Josh Buatsi is going to catch a body on Saturday. Everybody doubting Buatsi gas. What if Buatsi goes to Craig's body? Good question. Smaller fighters can use their jab effectively. Look at Iron Mike. Showed us that small people can set up great jabs to open the gate for inside work. Same as Dan and Zeke Burton. Yeah, good point. Once again, Ash with the super chat. Do you think Buatsi will get points taken off? Because I do, he says.
Possible. If he's down, if he feels he's down on the cards, or he feels like he needs a break, he'll do whatever he needs to do to quote unquote ruffle Craig's feathers. Like, he'll try and unsettle Craig and get him out of a game plan. Because one thing everyone says about Craig is that he's always like composed. He's just this laid back, chilled guy. He never gets rattled or flustered. So Buatsi's best chance to get him out of there or to win the fight is to bring him out of a comfort zone, make him do things he wouldn't normally do. And if he's got to get a couple points taken off to do that, he might do it. He is spiteful like that.
That's a very good point. So what we're talking about here is, what if Buatsi's game plan is, I'm going to go in there like Iron Mike with bad intentions and brought this guy to the body and finish him up to the head and have this fight over within 6 rounds. Like a super aggressive Josh Buatsi, like we've never seen him before, where his attitude is, I've fought this guy at the gym how many times, I've felt his power, I know what his game is like, I feel I can dominate him. So you know what? And this might be something we see at the press conference, if not certainly at the weigh-in on Friday, where there's been talk about who's going to be more aggressive, who's going to come with the drama, the big drama show. Are we likely to see any drama? Are all these guys going to stay respectful and be nice through the whole thing? What's your thoughts, Space?
I don't think so. I feel like, because if we watch the did you watch the, what's it called, Make Every Day Count? Yeah. So if you see on that, you see from even like for the face off and just having to talk, having to sit next to each other in the interview, you could tell that there was little things here and there that was being said. Now, when you look at obviously what they were saying about each other, like while they were driving in the cars, there were certain bits and pieces there where you're like, oh, okay, so that's what he really thinks about me. Then you get to the face-off and you hear how they're talking about each other there. And the fact that, remember, Buatsi, in that whole thing, he doesn't call Craig once in the whole, it's Spider. It's all the way through. It's Spider. It's like, so I'm looking at you, it's like I've got roadman settings on you right now. Like, this ain't even a first name basis. You're an op.
For real.
So from your op, like you're getting op treatment. Yeah. And I feel like with all, especially the fact that he's obviously having to come from California and he's doing all of that, he might not be on this. You know what? I'll just let it be business in the ring. I reckon if any one of them is gonna do something quote unquote out of character, in the lead up, I reckon it's gonna be Boatsi, because even in certain parts of those videos, you could see he was just uncomfortable being around Craig's presence. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Bruce Kai
Bruce
says, Tony, this
Tony,
is what I'm
this is
saying.
what I'm
People
saying. People
underestimating that
underestimate.
can happen.
Yeah, can
Can
happen
happen
only
only
because Craig
because
has a
Craig
better
has better
reach.
reach.
Better reach doesn't mean better, more effective jab, but he has
And then
he has a more effective jab. It's not about the
yeah.
reach; it's just about the jab itself. One thing about Craig, he said in an interview a few days ago, he was in America going from gym to gym sparring the best guys. Yeah,
Yeah, he was.
I
Yeah.
know firsthand he's done that.
Yeah,
He's always
we saw
going
the
and
videos.
getting new looks.
Yeah. Because he was getting to some big fights while he was out there at the time as well. For me, it doesn't really matter what he says so long as it gets the maximum effect from Buatsi. And I think he's talking there about Virgil Hunter. He can slap him across the face so long as it gets the message across. There's been some comments about Virgil Hunter. And to be honest, right, I kind of feel like this I don't even want to talk about it. I just don't feel. I mean, Virgil Hunter's track record is not great. Let's be honest. But I do feel like, you know, somehow Buatsi gets out of this without needing like Virgil Hunter's genius, you know, which people are going to say he ain't got it. If he ain't got it, he ain't got it. But every now and again, you got a guy who turns up with a real one, like he had with Andre Ward, and he gets the job done. And if Buatsi is the next coming of, then he'll get the job done, regardless of what Virgil Hunter does, says, or other. So I'm not really putting much stock on the Virgil Hunter argument, because I just believe this is down to the two guys. And if Buatsi is what he says he is, Virgil Hunter won't really have to say much, because he'll work it out in the ring. To me, fighters are fighters. Yeah? You've either got it or you haven't. As Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Yeah? This is that situation. What does Buatsi done when he does? What does he do when he gets punched in the face by Craig Richards? Which he's going to have. He's going to get ruffled. His feathers are going to get turned upside down. He's going to be going through all kind of disbobulation. He's going to get hurt in this fight. He's going to get hit to the body like he's never been hit, because Craig has all those skills. Great jab, great inside work, great body punching, great timing, you know. So this comes down to the two guys, because as much as I say Craig has all those things, Buatsi has all those things as well. So, you know, will the corners be the difference in this? Me personally, I don't think it's going to be down to the corners. I think the two guys know each other. I think they're going to know, you know, we're going to just see who wants it most.
Yeah.
What else? Craig can win this by getting Buatsi to go in the red mist. I don't know. I don't think that affects Josh Buatsi. He's just that Christian guy. He's like Zen. You know, like anyone knows Phil Jackson from the Lakers and the Bulls. The Zen master is Joshua Buatsi.
No, because if you remember in his the fight before Bolotniks against, was it Sanchez? When Sanchez threw it, when he threw him to the ground, and all of a sudden you saw Buatsi's whole demeanor change. His whole everything went out the.
Oh no! We've lost base. Here he comes. You there?
Yeah, what did you do?
I don't know.
Is your Wi-Fi playing up?
No. I thought you jumped.
But yeah,
so
like I said, he can get himself like into I'm gonna have a tear up mode and get out of his controlled and measured state. So yeah, it can happen. Dos Santos, yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I'll probably agree with Ash there. It probably is.
Okay. So guys, we've really chopped this one up. I mean, you know, Base and I, as we said, we're gonna be there with KG and Trav and the undefeated crew. We look forward to seeing you guys if you are in attendance. I know there's quite a few from our WhatsApp group turning up. Danny from Fight Fan TV is definitely going to be there. So yeah, look out for us. We'll obviously try and touch base with one another. It'd be great to catch a drink and have a picture or two. But yeah, I mean, super excited for this weekend. You know, it's always great to watch boxing on TV, but it's even better when you're there live. And you know, I'm super hyped for this one.
Yeah, me too. Even though we're at the back of the arena, which yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to KG about on that one. But yeah, I'll make the most of it. I'll make the most of it.
We will indeed. Any last comments, bro?
No, I'm ready to sign this one off. I've got an episode of the Fem Files to finish shooting when we finish here. We've done our job, so I can get that uploaded, so I can get ready for the you know, sort of the breakdown video from myself at the end of the week and basis picks, all that good stuff. Need to get some food. We've chopped it up, like we've done a lot today. So let's see.
We've had an extra 20 minutes today because of the fact that there was.
And let's find out if we actually have a show next week. Because remember, if Faratsi wins via KO, we're not even hosting the show next week. Ash is doing it by himself.
What have you done to me, bro? What have you done to me?
No, that wasn't me, man. That was KG. KG set that one up. So
down below, guys, follow all the details of Base and myself on the ticker underneath. Feel free to jump all over his Instagram, all over his Twitter, all over his YouTube channel, as he's alluded to. Another episode of the Fem Files coming up. Those are absolutely amazing, as well as his daily and weekly takes on the sport as we love it. You can catch him also on many other streams, so you know, look out, the Boxing Fraternity. You can. Thank you very much, Obs. Best show by far today. Great breakdown. Thank you, Off the Canvas. Much appreciate the love. Big up Jamaica. Big up Ghana. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a great show, guys. Thank you very much for staying with us and enjoy the weekend. We'll see you at the weekend. All the best. Take care.